All right, that's how the lawn's looking after a couple of weeks of mowing with the rotary and not with good old Frankenstein. Because as you can see there, I've cut out some garden beds and I've replanted that lawn into that area down there. Obviously now when you cut out garden beds, you're going to have stones everywhere all along those edges, hence the rotary mower. And yeah, now it's time to give Frankenstein a whirl. Goedemiddag mensen. Okay, Frankenstein's now set to 20 millimeters. Yes, you heard that correctly, 20 mils. I just feel like it. I don't think Frankenstein's ever been set to 20 millimeters. I think the next highest was 18 mils, so or maybe even 19 mils, but I definitely don't think 20. So let's just do it and see what happens. I do think that I want to move on to a taller height of cut, not only because it's easier, but also because I want more of like a sports turf effect moving forward, and not so much like a fine turf care regime. I wasn't even getting that done properly in the first place. So rather get back to doing things in a sort of regular homeowner's fashion. And for me, that means raise the height of cut. Of course, I still want a tidy looking lawn. So it still means mow, water, fert. Anyway, first, poop scoop, double check for stones, then mow. That time Sunday afternoon, everybody's taking their dogs for a walk, so it's just barking everywhere behind me, so excuse that. But yeah, it's looking alright. All of that was just one bin, one catcher load. Never mind the skew lines. You can see I'm out of practice. But yeah, I do feel like I need to go over it a second time. Remember, you don't have to lower your height of cut when you mow and you think, oh, I need to take off a bit more. Finish your mow. If it's just like a little bit that you arguing with yourself about, finish mowing and then go over it again in a different angle, or even just over it again, and then make that decision. Remember, your height of cut is what you set the mower up to. If you go over it once, you're generally floating over that turf density over the surface, and it generally means that some of that you're just sort of squashing down. You're not really cutting everything except for the little tippy tips. If you go over it a second time, by the time you basically get to where you started the first time, that grass is sort of, instead of laying flat, it's kind of perked itself back up again. You can mow over it again, generally from the other directions a little bit better, and then eat into another little bit of a layer on that surface. What I used to do when I was a little bit overly anal about this is I would go over it multiple times until when I pulled out the ruler, and let's say I was aiming for 8 or 10 millimeters, the mower would be set to that 8 or 10 mils, and the grass, tippy tops of the grass, would measure to soil level at around that 8 to 10 millimeter mark. I would mow until it was that height, but I really do think that's overthinking it. And remember, that will sometimes lead to a scalp every now and then, which I did many times before. But if you've watched my videos, you know that I'm not afraid of a scalp. But really, that's not what I'm after these days. I just want my lawn to look nice. I don't need it to be overly short. I've had this before for a couple of months at a time at like 8 millimeters, and for Kikuyu to be at 8 millimeters is really, really difficult. I had to mow basically every day and keep on top of spoon feeding and that kind of thing. Otherwise, you just don't get it looking nice at that 8 mils, especially not in Kikuyu. But that's not what I'm after anymore. Well, firstly, I've got this little munchkin. I say munchkin, I want to say nastier words, but I think the YouTubes would probably demonetize the account or something like that. But he's getting into trouble in some way. But yeah, there's the example. The dogs, even with this little guy in here now, he's following the same paths as the other guys, the other pups. And of course, that is traffic. And that's going to sort of put a bit of pressure on your lawn. You can clearly tell it there. So raising your height of cut will help keep things in check. And yeah, when this is grown back in, you can see it's actually done quite all right. You can see now where I've sculpted, I've kind of eaten into what I was letting grow. And then down here, which I haven't put this on a video. This is actually something interesting for any of you who are planting new sod. This isn't even fresh sod. This is Travis with a spade digging out the garden beds Oh, that's what it looks like next morning after some nice rain. I realized my ADHD set in, and I just carried on talking random stuff when I was just about to tell you the interesting stuff about laying lawn sod. So let's do that quickly. You can tell the top half is a bit greener than the bottom half, and it's quite simple as to the reason why. First is the top bit here comes out of that top bit over there, which was just dug out deeper, so the sod was really thick. Also, the area was a bit deeper, and so it was filled up more, which means that it has more fresh soil and then, of course, a better ability to retain moisture. This area down here was of that very thin sod, which I'm about to tell you in the video how difficult it was to dig that out. And the area that's here is basically just gravel that's underneath there. So that is retaining moisture nicely, and that not so much. What I have done is I have been fertilizing and I have been mowing at the rotary. What you just saw earlier on was the first time that I had Frankenstein roll over this, and it is very lumpy bumpy, but just rolling over it once helped quite a lot. And after the rain will definitely help a lot further. Ooh, there's water falling out of the trees. Back to the rest of what I recorded. Let me show you that. I think that's where we ended the last video. I said that I was going to dig out from back here. So that's now what's happened. And for the last couple of weeks, I've just been reworking the soil. Number one, it's incredibly hard. This used to be like just gravel when we moved into the house. It still really is very, very rocky. This little section here took me just from there to there. It took me as long as it took me to do the entire area all the way up and the other side of the house. So it is, it was really bad. Anyway, this is now what it looks like. It comes up. There's a funny little turn over here, which you can see I cut another line in there. I wasn't sure if I want to take that out or not. So for now I'm leaving it. Let's just see what happens. But just me sticking a spade in there to cut that line out, you can see how it's damaged the grass. So that's actually not from like a lawnmower scalp. That's because that thin little strip got cut up. And then if we walk across here, you'll kind of get the idea of what I'm going for here. Now the beds have been cut out to against the house. You can see they're still a bit crude, but I mean, I'll get there a little bit at a time. Oh, I always forget to mow this section, and I've just done that again, but maybe I'll do that off camera. Anyway, there it is from the other side. I think that's pretty good. And that's it. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share this with your buddies. See you on the next one. Cheers.